never imagined that I would be the type of mother who goes all out for her child's birthday. But here I am, hanging streamers. Em's 9th birthday is today, and I am in the midst of inflating balloons with the urgency of my life. I want to make it special. Our downtown Seattle apartment isn't very big, but I've done my best to transform our living room into a vibrant celebration area. As I attach another balloon to the wall, I find myself unable to resist. When I think back on my own childhood birthdays or lack thereof, I remember that we never had any. My parents struggled to make ends meet, so they never had enough money for parties or gifts, and birthdays were just another burden. Another day on the calendar that I told myself would be different once I had kids. I take a moment to admire my children, work with a mix of pride and worry. The decorations aren't fancy. It's only some streamers from the dollar store and a happy birthday sign. But it's more than I could do before Emma's birthday. It's been a year since she asked for a real birthday party, and I couldn't let her down again. On the kitchen counter sits a simple chocolate cake with the words, "Happy 9th birthday, Emma," in shaky pink writing. I never bake, but I stayed up late last night to make it from scratch. It's not perfect, but I hope Emma will value the work I put into it. I glance at the time and experience a surge of nervousness. Emma's friends are coming over soon, and there's still a lot to do. I hurried to her room and gently shook her shoulder to wake her up. As she woke up, I greeted her with a smile, a sleepy blink at me. Emma's eyes get big when she realizes what day it is. She bolts up, her brown hair a mess, sticking up in all directions. "Is it time for my party?" she practically begs. My heart swells with love for this little ball of energy who is not quite here yet, and I laugh out loud. "We need to get you dressed and ready first, honey. Your friends will be here in every hour." As she scuffs out of bed, I hear her talking endlessly about her plans for the day. I felt awful because I knew that this party would put a strain on our budget. We had to use our emergency funds to make it happen, but seeing Emma's smile makes it all worth it. Those are the words I tell myself as I finish setting up the snacks, just popcorn, fruit, and chips. It's not a fancy drink, but it will do. I can hear her singing to herself in her room. Emma has recently developed an intense interest in a pop song, and I am unable to suppress a smile as she emerges from her bedroom whenever the doorbell rings. She squeals with joy as they walk into the room. I've finally mastered the skill of braiding hair neatly after years of practice. When I opened the door and saw Lily, Emma's best friend, standing there, I jumped up and down with joy. Lily is standing there with her mom, Jenny. Jenny gives me a friendly smile and says, "Happy birthday." Lily hands Emma the gift, and Emma takes it with respect, her eyes wide. "Thank you. Please come in." Jenny stays behind as the girls go into Emma's room. Lisa, standing in the hallway, says, "This place looks great. Decorations. You've really outdone yourself." I feel a rush of pride and shame. Oh, it's nothing I say with a wave of your hand. I just wanted to do something special for this. Jenny nods to show that she understands how hard it is for us to pay our bills. She's been a wonderful neighbour and friend since we moved into this apartment building 2 years ago. I think it's great. Emma will always remember this. As more kids start coming over, our small apartment soon becomes filled with noise, of laughter and excited chatter. I keep myself busy by setting up games and giving. We are setting out snacks and attempting to maintain a smooth operation. It's a bit crazy and stressful, but seeing Emma's face makes it all worth it. Seeing their faces light up with each new task makes it all worth it. As I'm cutting the cake, my phone rings. It's a text. My husband is running late due to traffic. He'll be home soon. I frown at the Mark understood the significance of today, so he pledged his presence to assist in setting up. I thought about it, but I pushed it aside because there was too much going on in the room. The 9-year-olds, high on sugar, keep the party going. Eyes fly by in a blur of games, gifts, and sugar before I can say a word. Before you know it, the parents are coming to get their kids, and Emma is smiling as she stands in front of a small pile of gifts. Emma's cheeks get red as she says goodbye to her friends. As the final guest departs, Emma wraps her arms around them. My wife, Mum, said, "That was the best party ever." She looks up at me and yells, shining eyes, "Thank you so much." I hug her back, feeling a lump form in my throat. "You're welcome, sweetie. I'm so glad you had fun." Emma yawns at the excitement of the situation. The day finally caught up with her. "Can I play with my new toys for a while before bed?" I ask. "Okay," she responds, and she quickly leaves. The party guests left me alone in my room, so I started cleaning up. I got paper plates and popped some popcorn. My mind keeps going back to Mark's absence. He should have been here hours ago, and just as I'm finishing up, I hear the Mark crashes in, looking messy and smelling bad. The keys jingle in the lock. I can smell the aroma of beer, and my heart sinks at the thought of traffic. "Hey," he grunts and throws his. He places the keys on the counter and looks around the room to see what's left of the party. It looks like I missed all the fun. I tried not to say anything because I didn't want to start a fight. Emma had a wonderful time at the party. Mark barely nods and then freezes his gaze, was looking at something behind me. I turned around to see what they were seeing and felt sick. The box that we keep. Several bills are protruding from our emergency cash, according to Lisa. Mark. Voice low and scary. "Why is the cash drawer open?" I take a deep breath. "The party required a small amount I stole." Mark interrupts, his face darkening as he approaches. He swiftly opens the drawer and counts the remaining items. "Are you kidding me? You used our savings to buy this. My guard is getting stronger. It was for Emma's. A good party would have been nice for her birthday, Mark." Mark slams the drawer shut. "How can I go out with my friends now that you're giving me a flush?" Unbelievably, he approaches me with his hand raised before I can respond. I can see it coming, but I'm too shocked to do anything about it. The powerful slap hits me in the cheek, the force of it sending me staggering back into the table. The extra cake wobbles the candles that I never got. As I try to put it away, it falls over for a moment, and all is quiet. I put my hand on my hurt face and tried to figure out what had happened. Mark has always had a temper, but Emma's voice breaks the silence as she calls her mum from her room, scared and asking, "Is everything okay?" I clear my throat and attempt to remain calm. "Keep your voice down. It's okay, honey. I just knocked something over." Go back to Mark approaches, his voice growing low and frightening. "You're going to pay for..." Do you get it? When I look into his eyes, I don't see the man I married. Saw a stranger, someone scary and unknown, and at that moment I speak more to myself than to anyone else about a choice that will change everything in my life. Then, with enough volume, I grab my phone, my hands shaking but my resolve strong. Firm. Mark's eyes get enormous when he looks at what I'm doing. "What are you doing?" Hisses. "Put that down," but I can already feel my heart beating fast in my chest. I put the phone to my ear and see fear in Mark's eyes. Good. It was high time for him to feel fear. 911. "What's your emergency?" a calm voice asked. I take a deep breath and start to speak. With each word, my voice gets louder. "I need help. My husband I'm scared for my safety and the safety of my girls after being hit. And as I keep talking to the operator, I watch Mark's face change, going through a range of feelings, from anger and denial to finally realizing what's been done, but it's too late. Sorry, but it's too late to change your mind now that things have started moving. Even though my birthday party didn't end the way I had planned, it has turned into a different kind of celebration. I am happy about finding my voice to say no to abuse and creating a better future for myself and my daughter. I make a mental promise to myself that this birthday day and moment will be the last for a long time, afraid and violent. From now on, we will be writing a new story, courage, strength, and hope. My hands are shaking so badly I can hardly hold on. It's like a lifeline to be able to talk to a 911 operator on the phone. As the world spins around me, I'm the most scared I've ever been. But there's something more than fear in me. Someone else might be stubborn or determined. Are you in a safe place? The operator asks. Right now, in a calm voice. I look at Mark, his hands are in his hair all the time as he paces back and forth in our small living room like an animal in a cage. He said under his breath, I don't know. I've never seen him like this before. I can assure you that he remains present, but he is not approaching me at this moment. Please pay close attention. The police are on their way to you, so please find a safe place in your home until they get there. Arrive, could you please do that for me? I nod, but then I remember that she can't see me. Please stay on the line with me. Okay, you're doing great. I take a deep breath. I'm taking a deep breath to calm down. The pain on the left side of my face, where Mark struck me, serves as a constant reminder of why. As I do this, I catch a glimpse of myself in the hallway mirror. My cheek already has a red mark on it. I feel sick when I think about how badly it might hurt. From Emma's room, I heard a... My heart aches because she must have heard everything. It turned out that it was the police. I tell Mark that my voice sounds louder than it is, and he stops pacing. He looks at me with a face that shows anger and shock. What the hell is wrong with you, Lisa? You're going to drag, he snaps, letting strangers into our home because of this. For a moment, his face takes on a shape that might suggest sorrow, but it's not. I'm not sure if I witnessed it, but he swiftly retrieved his jacket from the back of the couch. He starts to walk out the door, but a slight sound catches our attention. I think I'm waiting here for them, he says. The sound of sirens far away makes Mark freeze and put his hand on the door. I can. You can feel the stress in his shoulders and the tremor in his fingers. Tonight is the first time he looks scared after. After he thinks about it for a moment, he throws down his jacket and storms back into the living room. Are you really doing this? He speaks more to himself than to me. Don't answer. I'm too busy quietly counting down the seconds until the police come. I promised myself I would never be scared when someone knocked on my door again. Both people jump, and Mark's face changes in an instant, like he's putting on a mask. He attempts to appear extremely calm as he moves to respond. Good evening. In a smooth voice, he tells the cops, there must be some kind of misunderstanding. Take a step forward with your arms crossed over your chest. There's no misunderstanding, I say in a shaky voice. I knew I had to call because he hit me, so I did. It was a tall woman with... As I explain what happened, kind eyes look at me and ask, can you tell us what happened? I can see Mark's face in the evening, during the birthday party, during the fight over money, and during the slap that made me reel. He keeps trying to cut in to explain what he did, but he starts to crack. However, the police consistently instructed him, Sir, please step outside with my partner. The woman officer tells them straight out, we need to talk to both of you separately. As the officer leads Mark outside, he turns back to me and inquires, is there anyone else in the house? I nod, feeling Emma, my daughter, is celebrating her birthday today. The officer's face softens as he says, I'm so sorry this happened to her. It's an important day, and we need to check on her to make sure she's okay. Could you show me how to? I show her the way down the short hallway and stop outside of Emma's closed door. I can hear her sniffling inside. Again, my heart breaks. I softly knock on Emma's door and ask, Sweetheart, may I come in? Okay, says a small voice after a pause. When I opened the door, I saw Emma sitting on her bed and hugging her. When she cries, her eyes turn red and puffy, making her appear small. I am so weak and easily hurt that it takes everything in me not to break down right then. The cop says, My name is Officer, lowering himself to Emma's eye level. Sarah? I want to make sure you and your mum are safe. Is that okay if I ask? You have a few questions, and Emma doesn't want to answer. Her eyes jumping between me and the I stand there as Officer Sarah converses with her. asking her straightforward questions about her experiences and emotions. I stood in the hallway, feeling like the worst mother in the world. How did I let things get so bad? In an instant, there was a "I hear" yelling from the living room and then a thud. Officer Sarah Shee immediately stands up, reaching for her radio. "Stay here," she tells him. Emma quickly leaves the room. Emma looks at me with wide, scared eyes. I sit down next to her on the bed and hug her tightly. "I don't know, honey, but I promise it will be okay. How long will we sit there? It only seems like a few minutes, but it feels like hours. I can hear more people now." Then sounds of unknown ones and footsteps coming down the hall. Officer Sarah shows up. Her expression was serious as she said, "Mrs. Johnson, I need you to come with me." My stomach hurts due to my husband's recent medical event. What should I do? "Is he okay?" she asks, but she isn't sure. "The paramedics are with him now," she says. He may have experienced a panic attack or something similar, as evidenced by his collapse in the living room. I woke up and thought, this can't be. "Aside from everything else, Emma, I need you to stay here for a while." I try to keep my voice steady as I say, "Okay, I'll be right back." When I follow Officer Sarah back to the living room, I feel a wave of conflicting feelings and worry about Mark, even though the anger that sparked all of this has exacerbated the situation. About him, even if unintentionally, and a huge fear underneath it all. Think about what this means for our future. The living room is busy with people, and firemen are hunched over Mark, whose he appears to be out of it as he lies on the floor, pale and wet. As soon as he sees me, he reaches out and grabs Lisa's hand. "I'm sorry," he croaks. I apologize, but I'm at a loss for words. Part of me wants to go talk to him. I want to offer comfort, but I can't because I can still feel the pain of his hand on my cheek. One of the paramedics walks up to me and says, "We need to take him to the hospital for evaluation. We want to make sure his vital signs are stable, but he says they are." I'm sure there isn't anything more important going on, so I just nod. What do I need to do? Officer Sarah puts a soft hand on my arm to tell me I don't need to do anything. "We need to take your statement right now, but you can choose to wait until tomorrow if you'd rather." "Do you have anything to say? Someone who can come stay with you tonight is needed. Jenny, our friend, is always willing to help, and I know she can. She would come immediately, but the thought of having to explain everything right now is too overwhelming for me." It's strange how steady my voice sounds when I say, "We'll be okay." I need to be with my daughter. The cop nods and says, "Okay, we'll do that. Just to be safe, have a police car drive by a few times tonight. Here's while the paramedics get ready to move. You can call the card number if you need anything day or night." "Mark," I can finally find my voice. "Wait," I say, moving closer to him. Their eyes meet. Mine, and for a split second I see the scared, vulnerable guy I married. I whisper to Mark, "I don't know what's going to happen next, but you need to understand one thing. Issues require change." He gives a weak nod and tears up. I know he whispers, "I'm sorry, I'll get over it." As they wheel him out, I promise to help. I stand in the middle of our living room. Emma was surrounded by the leftovers from her birthday party, deflated balloons, torn wrapping paper, and a cake. I feel like the lone light is a metaphor for our lives. What should have been a joyful event turned into something sad. As I turned to go back to Emma's room to try to salvage what was left of her birthday, I saw something broken and sad. I sense a shift within me, a resolve and purpose I was unaware I possessed. Regardless of the future events, one certainty remains. We are deserving of better. I'll make sure we get it. I take a deep breath and square my shoulders. It's time to start picking up. It won't be easy, but nothing is worth it. As I clean up, I can't help but hum softly. Regardless of the circumstances, today remains the first day of a new year. Chapter 1. A new us. The night seems to go on forever. Paramedics leave with Mark to take him to Harbourview Medical Centre downtown. The police leave me alone for the day. The police have departed, leaving their cards behind and promising to return tomorrow. There is silence in the flat. It's so loud that I can't hear myself think as I stand in the middle of our living room, surrounded by the mess from Emma's party. It feels strange to observe another person's life unfold, but the pain in my cheek makes me realise how real this is. Emma's soft voice cuts through my thoughts. "Mum, is Dad going to be okay?" I thought it as I turned around and saw her standing in the... I feel scared and small in the hallway, and my heart breaks all over again. How would you explain this to a 9-year-old? "Come here, sweetheart," I say, holding out my arms. I hold her tight while taking in the smell of her strawberry shampoo. She says, "Dad, he's not feeling well." "They will help him get better." "Is it because of the fighting?" she asks. My shirt blocks her voice, so I close my eyes and fight back the tears. "Emma, I know it's challenging for you, but I promise you that none of this is your fault." For a while we just stood there and held each other. Eventually I put her back to bed, tucked her in, and told her things would look better in the morning. I'm not keeping that promise. Yes, I can manage it, but I need to make an effort to clean up after Emma goes to sleep. It's useless work, but it keeps my hands busy and gives me something to think about besides my crazy thoughts. As Emma leaves, I pick up the wrapping paper when my phone rings. It's a text from Jenny, our Hey friend. "How is everything going? I heard a lot of noise earlier. Could you please let me know? Need anything?" I look at the message with tears in my eyes. He wants to tell her everything so she can lean on him, but he also wants to. What will she ultimately think of me or both of us? That's what the person who has been following us for years thinks. Tomorrow, send back a simple, rough night talk. It's not much, but that's all I have. I can handle it right now. As I complete the cleaning, I notice Mark's carelessly thrown jacket on the couch. Something compels me to pick it up, and as I do so, I hear the soft thud of something falling. I take a small leather-bound notebook out of one of the pockets because I'm interested. I've never seen it before. For a moment, I thought this might be an invasion of privacy. Should I really grant Mark any privacy in light of everything that has transpired tonight? As I shake Mark's hand and open the notebook, I question myself. It looks like an effortless day planner at first, but as I turn the pages, some things don't make sense to me. There are names I don't know and amounts of money that make my eyes widen. I find myself perplexed by mysterious notes. One item stands out to me. Meeting with Jay. $5,000 cash. No paper trail. Oh my gosh, what is this? What has Mark? Before I can go into more detail, there's a knock on the door. My heart races. Is it Mark from the police? I look through the peephole and see Officer Sarah standing there. I open the door. I hold the notebook behind my back and ask the cop, "Is everything okay?" There was a smile that said, "Everything's fine, Mrs. Johnson. I just wanted to check in. Is everything okay with you and your daughter?" I nod, trying to look more calm than I really am. "Thank you." Officer Sarah looks around the room behind me, and I can see her eyes staying on something. She examines Mark's bag, partially concealed beneath the couch. "I knew it was there, Mrs. Johnson," she says. "I hate to ask, but would you mind if I took a closer look at that bag? That's what you do in situations like this." I think about this for a moment and then nod. What else can I do while she gets the information? Bag. I look at her face to see how she's feeling, but her expression stays blank. She opens it, but her eyebrows appear slightly raised. "Mrs. Johnson," she tells her. She turns the bag toward me and asks in a low voice, "Do you know anything about this?" I'm bleeding profusely because there are stacks of cash inside, more than I've ever had, seen in one place. But that's not what interests me about hidden among the bills is a passport with Mark's picture on it but a different name. I try to understand, but I stammer, "What is this, officer?" Sarah's face is serious and "We'll have to investigate because your husband may have done something wrong. Seems to be off-centre. Mark, my husband of 10 years as the father of my child. It doesn't make sense, but the notebook in my hand feels like it's on fire. There's that and this." I hand Officer Sarah the notebook, and she frowns as she looks through it. "More deeply, Mrs. Johnson. I need to call this in because we might need to ask you some. Please let me know if there is someone who can come stay with you this time." When I'm ready, I nod and pick up the phone to call my friend Jenny. Jenny can come over as Officer Sarah goes outside to make a call. I immediately text Jenny, and she responds, "Lisa, what's going on?" She knocked on my door, still in her pajamas, her face filled with worry. She asks as she hugs me, and with that, the dam breaks. I find myself Jenny holds my arm while I sob into her shoulder, letting out a confused mess of what happened that night. She would occasionally whisper words of comfort to me. When I managed to gather myself, I noticed that more police officers had arrived. They're talking quietly, and Officer Sarah is looking at them every once in a while. I watch as they carefully place the notebook and bag into the evidence bags. Jenny squeezes my hand. "What do you want?" I tell Emma to wake up so she can come stay with me tonight, but she says no. So I'll let her sleep. I don't want to scare her even more. As the night goes on, our small flat turns into a hectic hub of activity. When people come in and ask questions, take pictures, and bag things as proof, I answer as, though I try, most of their questions about a stranger, not the man, are incomprehensible. I've shared my life with, "Did you ever see a lot of cash lying around the house? Did you spend a significant amount of time there during the night? Did your husband ever travel for long periods of time for meetings or phone calls that seemed odd? Periods for no reason?" Each question intensifies the sense of my world disintegrating. How could I have been so stupid and dumb that dawn comes up and shines a pale light through our windows? I'm sitting on the couch with a cold coffee in my hands, while Jenny is asleep in her seat, refusing to wake up. The cops have finally left, leaving a card for a detective who will be in touch later today. Please leave me alone. I'm tired, but I can't fall asleep because my mind keeps playing over old memories. While searching for clues, I might have overlooked the late nights at work and the unusual circumstances. Calls were made when finances were tight, but suddenly they weren't. As Emma's door creaks open and she walks out, a frightening new thought crosses her mind. She rubbed her eyes and asked, "Mum, what's going on? Where's Dad?" I patted the couch. She rises beside me and nestles against my side. "My dad is still at the hospital. I don't fully understand what's going on right now, honey, but I promise I'll explain everything as soon as I can. Are we going to be okay?" I ask her seriously as I pull her close and kiss her on the "Yes, baby, we'll be okay." It may be challenging for a while, off the top of her head, but we're strong and we'll get through this together. As I watch with my daughter, seeing the sun rise over the city of Seattle, I feel a strange mix of fear and joy. We were frustrated at Mark for betraying us and felt guilty for not calling him back. Seeing it sooner, but there's something else under it all, a spark of determination and a strong will to always keep Emma and I safe. From my old world, I'll build something new. It won't be easy, but nothing worth doing is ever easy. I promise myself in my head that I will pay attention to the new day. Daughter, to our future. We will survive, thrive, and never give up. Again, don't let anyone make us feel small or scared about what lies ahead. I have a plethora of inquiries that I am uncertain about whether or not I wish to address. However, for the first time in a while I am experiencing a sense upon finally waking up. The scales have lifted from my eyes, and although the truth is painful, it liberates me. Regardless of the future events, I am certain I will no longer allow my life to dictate my course. I am fighting for the life Emma and I deserve. It's like you can feel my resolve. Emma hugs my hand and says, "I love you, Mom." I love you back, sweetheart. My voice was filled with intense emotion, surpassing all else in the world. I'm sure that we'll be okay no matter what comes our way as long as we have each other. We're survivors. The next few days are a blur of cops, Emma and I, and survivors from Thrive. There are interviews, hushed phone calls, and sleepless nights for Emma. That's fine, Jenny, for the most part. I don't want her to see me like this. I'm struggling to piece together the fragments of my life. It's raining. Detective Rodriguez comes to our flat on Tuesday morning. She is a straightforward woman with kind eyes, seem to go against her stern personality as she sits down on our worn-out couch notepad. With everything in hand, I prepare myself for what's about to happen, Mrs. Johnson. She starts to speak. I understand that this may be difficult for you, but I need you to share with me everything you know about what your husband did. Over the past few years, any strange behavior, unexplained absences, or rapid changes in when discussing money, I take a deep breath and wrap my hands around mine. Around a coffee mug that's more for comfort than energy at this point. I don't even know where to begin. Now that I think about it, everything seems fishy. Detective Rodriguez nods. First, let's get down to business. How long have you been married? Years later, I respond. The words taste bitter in my mouth. We met in college and Emma was born a year after I married, immediately following my high school graduation. I see everything through a new view now that we're together. I used to blame the late nights at work on myself. Mark's assertions of dedication to his job now appear to be blatant fabrications. There are peculiar phone conversations and unexpected business journeys. It has a scary new meaning now. There were times when money was tight. I say my Mark would say he'd heard a voice just above a whisper. He promised a bonus or a new client and I believed him. I was so stupid. She shakes her head and says, You weren't stupid, Mrs. Johnson. You trusted me. Your husband, that's not a crime, but it feels like one as I talk. I feel like I'm abandoning the man I thought I knew by telling him everything I can remember. However, I recall how his hand grazed my cheek and how terrified Emma appeared. I know I'm doing the right thing, Mrs. Johnson. Detective Rodriguez, when I finish this, I have something to show you. Are you ready for it? I steal a nod from her as she takes a folder out of her briefcase and spreads it out. There are a lot of pictures on the coffee table, and I recognize Mark in all of them. But his friends are people I've never met. Seen before in place, I don't know if these were taken in the last 6 months. She informs you that an investigation into your husband has been ongoing for some time. I lean in to look at the pictures in which Mark is shaking hands. I recognize a man in a fancy suit standing outside a tall building. In another image, he is sitting in a dimly lit room. I am sitting in a restaurant next to a woman with smooth black hair and red lips. The intimacy of their position makes my heart race. I ask Detective Rodriguez with a shaky voice, Who are these people? She points to each picture and in slick professional tones talks about the guy in each one. The guy in the suit is known to help drug cartels launder money, and the woman in the restaurant is thought to be running a high-end prostitution ring. With each revelation, I feel my world getting smaller. Close in on me, Mrs. Johnson, she says, her voice getting softer. I know it's a lot to process, but I need you to grasp the gravity of the situation. Your husband has been a key player in a complex network of criminals. He hasn't just been involved in some small-scale financial theft. Acts such as money laundering, drug trafficking, and even human trafficking occur. The room spins as a result of the connections, and for a brief moment, I considered falling ill. I'm engaged in a project to support the man I married and the father of my child. It is so appalling that I am unable to comprehend it. However, the evidence is right in front of me. I didn't know. I whisper to myself, tears streaming down my cheeks. How could I not? I knew Detective Rodriguez was reaching out and putting a calming hand on my arm. These people are experts at lying, Mrs. Johnson. They keep different parts of their lives separate. Did they engage in criminal activities unrelated to their family life? You wouldn't have known, but her words don't make things better. When I think of all the times I believed Mark's reasons, all the red flags I saw, I feel guilty and ashamed. I didn't care how many people suffered as a result of my decision to go blind. What's going on now? I ask, wiping my eyes with the back of my hand. We'll need your help. As we work together to build our case, she informs you of the information she needs. Any papers or records you might have access to could serve as important proof. I nod in a strange way, set things right by placing them over me. I want to help you do whatever you need. Detective Rodriguez gets ready to leave. She stops at the door and says, "Mrs. Johnson, despite the difficulty, you should take pride in yourself, as most people would overlook this issue. To keep them safe, you're doing the right thing." I'll remember what she said. Thoughts of, am I doing the right thing, or am I just saving my own skin? Keep coming back to me as I move. As we walked through the apartment, we saw everything with fresh eyes. We purchased the furniture with money that could have been ours. The drug deals and the wall-mounted pictures of our happy family were all fabrications. I stand in front of Mark's closet and gaze at his clothes in silence. I remove them and place them on the bedspread as I think about it. Tying shoes. Everything smells bad right now as I clear one of the hand encircles a small, hard object. It's a key with nothing particularly special about it. However, I'm confident that I've never seen it before. With my heart pounding, I take a close look at it. The number 247 appears on it, potentially indicating a safety deposit box. I am about to call Detective Rodriguez right now, but something stops me. It feels like the final piece I need to see for myself in the future. After taking Emma to school in the morning, I find myself outside of the Seattle First Bank. My hands are sweaty as I walk up to the teller with the key clenched firmly in my hand. "I need to get into a safety deposit box," I say, trying to keep my voice calm. The number 247 persists in my voice and the checker nods, requesting identification. I hand it to her. I hold my breath as I look over my driver's card. Will it be enough? Does Mark have... There is another name on the account, but to my surprise, the teller just nods and quickly shows me to a private room. I find myself alone with a metal box that contains a multitude of secrets. I put the key in and turn it the right way. The lock clicks open, and when I lift the lid, I see stacks of cash worth more than it's the first time I've ever seen an American, Canadian, and even the British ones all feature Mark's picture, but they have different names. What interests me is a small leather-bound journal. When I open it, my heart stops. Mark's actions over the last 5 years with names, dates, and more, the amounts of money are all written out in black and white. As I turn the pages, I feel like I'm reading about a stranger. This book talks about a man who is cold-hearted and ready to do anything for. I had trouble seeing when I got to the last post, which was from Just A's of a few days ago. It was different from the others because it was more personal. I can't keep living this double life. Life says Lisa and Emma deserve better, but how can I leave everyone? This situation, the money, the power, is challenging, but I must find a way out. Soon, I'll lose everything that's important to me. I closed the book, feeling empty, even though Mark was having doubts. He had prioritized his illegal lifestyle over ours. He had the opportunity to leave and reveal the truth, but he chose not to do so. I feel a strange sense of calm come over me when I leave the bank with my journal and a few important documents safely in my bag. The truth has shattered everything I thought I knew about my life, but I can rise from the ashes. When I see the faint shape of a way forward, I pull out my phone and call the detective. I call Rodriguez at her number and say, "I need you to see something." The book in my purse feels heavy, but my steps are light as I walk. I'm ready to tell you everything. I feel like I can breathe again after getting to my car for the first time in days. It's ugly, painful, and changes your life, but it's also freeing. I can't change the past, or, while I can't repair the damage, I can decide how to proceed while driving. I promise Emma in my head that we'll get through this and build a new home. She has lived an honest and dependable life, and no matter what happens, she'll always know that her mum was brave enough to tell her the truth no matter how difficult it was. It won't be straightforward going from now on. There will be legal fights, money problems, and the emotional fallout from Mark's betrayal to deal with. It's something I haven't felt in a long time, and I hope you can feel it too. I'm ready for whatever comes next because I know I'm strong enough to face it. The truth has set me free. The days after my discovery at the bank were a blur of police interviews and court cases. Who knows what the future holds? Detective Rodriguez becomes a constant in our lives through her talks and sleepless nights. A week after Mark's fall, I still haven't seen him, which is a stark contrast to the chaos surrounding us. His health appears to be safe following his transfer from the hospital to a secure facility, but given the ongoing investigation, a part of me feels compelled to challenge him. Part of me wants to ask questions in person, but a bigger part of me knows I'm not ready. Still, Emma Bull, SS. Emma is taking care of things better than I could have. I hoped that she was confused and hurt, but also strong in a way that it shocks me. I've tried to be as honest with her as I can without telling her the whole ugly truth. One night, as we sat on her bed surrounded by her stuffed animals, I confided in her about some negative aspects of him. He caused harm to others, and now he must bear the consequences of his actions. Her little face was scrunched up in thought, just like it was when I took Sarah's. I received a bracelet at school and was forced to sit in time out. Despite my heart aching, I couldn't help but laugh. I'm sorry, sweetheart. But as the study goes deeper, I find myself. It was challenging for me to establish a connection between the Mark I knew and the one who appeared in police records and witness statements. Detective Rodriguez keeps me up to date on everything. Every new piece of information strikes me deeply. One afternoon, with a gloomy voice, she tells me that her husband is involved in at least 3 major drug crime rings. I was involved in money laundering through a web of shell companies and foreign accounts. I just nod, trying to processing the information still seems strange, as if I'm watching a crime show on TV instead of living it. She goes on, and I brace myself. We've found proof of his participation in a group that brings young women into the country under false pretenses and forces them to perform well can be found. I can feel the bile rising in my throat. That's the word for it, human trafficking. I've always felt a little sick when I watch the news, but to think that Mark, my Mark, could be involved in, I whisper more to an individual about an event that is so unbearable that it is nearly impossible to endure. I hate myself more than I hate Detective Rodriguez. How could he do these things? How could I not? She placed her warm hand on my arm, confirming my suspicion. Mrs. Johnson Lisa, you need to men, such as your husband, excel at maintaining boundaries, yet they can also demonstrate compassion. They were not only fathers and husbands at home, but also cruel thieves at night. You wouldn't have known it, but her words tell you. Thinking back on all the times doesn't alleviate my guilt. Mark came home late and said he was working. But was he really? Instead of saving lives, how many families were split up while I was making dinner and I had no idea? As I help Emma with her homework, the investigation grows like flames, destroying everything in its path. We have frozen our assets and inspected our bank accounts. I had questions about financial activities that I was previously unaware of. It appears that our experience with LED was merely the beginning of a vast wealth and corruption scandal. One morning, I woke up to discover our peaceful surroundings. News vans line the street shouting questions at me as I try to take Emma. The school's constant flashing of cameras is too much for Mrs. Johnson to handle. Did you know? Consider the negative actions your husband commits. How does it feel to marry a criminal? Lord, how would you respond to the situation? I quickly get Emma into the car while covering her face with my hand. As we drive away, I can see the fear and confusion in her eyes from the cameras. Mom, why are those people upset at us? She asks in a low voice. I grip the driving wheel tighter, fighting back tears. They're not mad at us, honey. They only want to know what happened with Dad, but it's not our job to tell them. When I inform the director about the situation, she comprehends it and pledges to monitor Emma closely and safeguard her from any harm. I don't want the attention, and as I leave school I have a panic attack. Where should I go? Now that I'm back home, the memories and the police presence are making my work feel overwhelming. I'm unable to do so because the investigation has placed me on indefinite leave. I end up driving. I ended up in a small park with a view of Puget Sound after wandering around idly for a while. The grey waters stretch out in front of me. I sit on a bench that fits my mood and watch fairies fly across the sound. I try to make sense of my new reality. Mark's mother has been calling non-stop since the news came out, and now I get another message on my phone. I've gone back and forth between shock, anger, and please stand by her son. I haven't been returning her calls because I'm at a loss for words. How do you tell someone that their child is the person they raised? As I sit there, lost in thought, a woman, I am reminded that those we love can do such horrible things. She's about my age, has kind eyes, and smiles hesitantly. I'm sorry it seems to worry you, she asks. Are you Lisa Johnson? I'm ready for more accusations or deep questions. Her next words caught me off guard. I'm so sorry about what? You're going through it, and thank you for having the courage to talk about it. She leaves before I can answer. I'm shocked because this is the first time someone has been nice to me since this whole thing started. Her words resonate with me as I drive home, whether it's fear or a need for conversation. In the dark times I've been going through, hope may just be possible. Not everyone in my home country thinks of me as a traitor or a fool. Rodriguez is waiting for me. Her face is grim, and I'm getting ready for more troubling news. Our initial review is over. She says that once we're sitting down in the living room, Lisa, I don't know how to say this, but anyhow, the extent of your husband's activities surpasses our initial assumptions. She weaves a complex web of criminal activities. These are businesses that span several countries and cost millions of dollars. It appears that he was more than just a participant in these operations. He played a crucial role as an architect, applying his business acumen to create. We've also found proof of bribery and complicated plans to launder money. Local officials, customs officers, and even 1 or 2 judges were present when your husband was there. He excels at maintaining the smooth operation of his business. I sit there in shock, trying to understand. How does this fit in with the man I thought I knew? Mark, the one who helped Emma with her math homework, who cried at his father's funeral and gave me flowers on our anniversary. How could he be the same person? Officer Rodriguez is explaining the situation to me, but my voice is barely audible. Above a whisper, "We're building a case for federal prosecution," she says. "According to your testimony and documents, we may give you multiple life sentences." I can't get those words out of my head. I think of Emma growing up without her. Seeing Mark's dad spend the rest of his life in jail is something I never thought I'd see, even thought of. And yet here we are. Detective Rodriguez adds one more thing, and her tone softens. "Potentially your husband's co-workers will contact you. They may see you as a way to reach out to Mark or retrieve items we haven't yet taken." A chill goes down my spine. She asks, "Are we in danger?" "Yes," she says, "we're setting up protective custody. For you and Emma, it's merely a precautionary measure, but the scale of the processes prevents us from taking any further action." Chances are, as she talks about the safety plan, I feel a strange calm come over me. This is my life now involves police protection and federal probes, and the future remains uncertain. Everything about it was different from the life I thought I had, but when I recall of the woman in the park, I've learned something about Emma's strength and my own strength by coming forward. This won't be easy, but we'll get through it. The road ahead is long and full of danger. It will be hard, but we'll get through it. That night, as I was putting Emma to bed, Mum, with those dependable eyes, looks up at me and says, in a serious voice, "Will everything be okay?" I smile and gently remove a strand of hair from her forehead. For the first time, I really believe it, sweetheart. We're going to be just... I feel a weight lift off my shoulders as I turn off her light and head to my own room. The truth about Mark has surfaced, and it's painful and ugly. Forget the lies and secrets. We're going to face the truth from now on. Being honest and brave in the world tomorrow will bring new challenges as we pack for our move to a safe house. We'll be speaking with lawyers once more about the challenges of beginning anew in our lives, but for now, in this peaceful place. When I give myself a moment of hope, I let the secret life of Mark Johnson shine through. Has come to light, but a new life is just starting to take shape for Emma and me. The safe house feels... There's nothing like home in this small, plain apartment in a quiet suburb of Portland, Oregon. The walls are blank. It's just plain furniture. But as I watch Emma check out our new temporary living place with wide, interested eyes, I sense a glimmer of hope in this empty canvas. It's been 3 months since that terrible event, and untouched by Mark's lie might be just what we need. That one night completely turned my world upside down. I endured 3 months of court cases, press harassment, and dreadful nights. I found a strength I didn't know I had 3 months ago. Mum, can I put my drawings on the fridge? Emma poses this question as she holds up her drawings, up a handful of bright papers. I smile, feeling a warmth spread through my chest. Of course, sweetie, this is our home now, even if it's only temporary. Emma is busy with her art while I unpack the few items we couldn't bring with us. The probe is still holding things up, but in a way it's liberating for a fresh start without burdens, the weight of our old lives. The next few weeks are a blur of changes and new habits. Emma starts at a new school. I started working from home for a small accounting company. It's an entry-level position. Although it's not up to my standards, it's honest work after years of living a lie. Off of illegal gains, the small paychecks feel clean. Our security detail, a pair of no-nonsense Thompson and Chen, 2 FBI agents, become a regular part of our lives. They're professional and nice, especially to Emma, but being around them all the time makes us think of the danger we might be in. One evening after Emma had left, I asked Agent Thompson if she was still in the news. To bed. She shakes her head. There's no proof. But we have reason to believe some of your husband's ex-partners are still looking for property that we haven't taken. You did the right thing by staying. I nod, feeling a familiar mix of fear and determination settle into me. Stomach. Despite the challenges of life, Emma, I've grown accustomed to this sensation over the past few months, making new friends at school. Her strength never ceases to amaze me. She still asks about Mark from time to time. With a weak voice, she asked one night, "When is Dad coming home?" After tucking her into bed, I sat on the edge of her bed and contemplated what to say. "Sweetheart, do you recall the discussion we had about Dad's bad behavior?" She nodded gravely in response to those incidents. "Dad has to be away for a long time. He can't come home. Is he still in love with us?" I'm sure my heart broke for her, Emma. Your dad loves you a lot, but people who love us sometimes hurt us. Choose to be with someone else. It's not your fault, and it doesn't mean he doesn't love you. I felt strong protectiveness wash over me as I held her while she cried. I couldn't shield her from the pain of losing her. Father, I couldn't help but ensure she understood my love and care for her. Weeks turn into months, and slowly we start to... As we navigate this new life, I begin attending a support group for families impacted by white-collar crime. At first, I'm reluctant to admit that I feel like a fake, especially after all of Mark's crimes. Cooking the books or engaging in insider trading did not align with reality. However, as I listen to the stories of other spouses and children, I slowly start to understand that we're all going through the same hurt, shame, and uncertainty. When I open up, I feel a sense of relief. I can't help but wonder how I could have been so blind. During one session, I admitted it. My voice was shaking. Looking back, there were warnings, but I ignored them all. The woman, whose husband embezzled millions from the business, reaches out and squeezes my hand. We see what we want to do. She speaks softly about the people we love. Staying with me helps me feel less guilty about the choices Mark made, which makes me realize that were his own. I might have been gullible or missed warning signs, but I wasn't, because of what he did. As spring turns into summer and things get back to normal, Emma's nightmares get less frequent. I am able to smile more easily and more frequently. We begin the exploration of our new city. We're finding our favourite ice cream shops and parks. Mine wasn't the life I wanted, but we're making it work. As we walk through a local farmer's market on a sunny Saturday, I hear someone call my name. I freeze up, reflexes kicking in, ready to grab Emma and run, but when I turn I see Jenny, an old friend from Seattle. Lisa, oh my God, it is you. She rushes over, pulling me into a tight hug. We've been deeply concerned about you as we catch up over coffee. Jenny's updates on the neighbourhood news and her admiration for Emma's growth fill me with a sense of relief. He shoulders this link to our old life, untainted by Mark's crimes, like a gift, you know? Jenny says, "A lot of people back home are cheering for you as we're saying goodbye. You're so brave." Lisa, what you did by coming forward in such a way is incredible. Her words continue to resonate with me. I've learned that not everyone perceives me as Mark's foolish, complicit wife. People understand the courage it took to speak up and choose truth over comfort as summer fades into fall. Face a new challenge. Mark's trial is about to start, and I've been invited to observe the thought of seeing him again, revisiting everything in a courtroom full of strangers, fills me with dread the night before. Emma is in her room quietly packing a small backpack before my flight back to Seattle. "What are you doing?" "Sweetie," I ask, confused. She looks up at me. Her face is serious. "I'm packing to go with her. You shouldn't have to face Dad alone." Tears spring to my eyes as I kneel. Beside her, "Oh, Emma, thank you. But this is something I need to do on my own. It's my job to stay here and keep everyone safe. Could you do that for me?" She hugs me and says, "You're the bravest person I know, Mo-Em." I whisper that her words give me strength as I walk into court the next day. Mark is there, and his jail jumpsuit makes him look smaller. We look at each other for a moment and I feel a flicker of sorrow or shame, but I'm not sure what it is. It doesn't matter. It's no longer my job to worry about how he feels as I speak out. I tell you the truth all the time, good times and bad. I disregarded warning signs when I realized I needed to voice my opinion. It hurts to lay it all out there. The broken pieces of our lives are visible to everyone, yet they also serve a healing purpose, akin to pricking a wound to allow it to heal. As I leave the courthouse, a young woman comes up to me and fidgets with her sleeve. "Mrs. Johnson," she calls me. "Mrs." Slowly, I admitted that I was one of the girls in the trafficking ring. My heart stops as she goes on. "I just wanted to say thank you for your statement and the evidence you provided. As long as it helps jail these people, you saved lives." I'm stunned. I can only nod my head as tears stream down my face from the weight of what she said. I watched her walk away from me that night in our small apartment. I hold Emma close while we video chat with my parents in Portland. "You have been there for me throughout this entire process, providing a rock of strength that I was unaware I needed." "You did good, kiddo," my dad says in a loud voice. "I shed tears of pride for you." As we said our goodbyes and I went to sleep, I felt at peace. Calm down. The road ahead is still long and unclear, and the trial will last a long time. They plan to submit additional motions and reopen the case. Our lives will never be the same, but when I look at Emma, calm as I sleep, I know we'll be okay. We've been through a storm, discover the truth and grow stronger. A new part of our lives is about to start. It makes me excited for the first time in a long time. I may have lost the life I thought I had, but I've learned something much more valuable. the strength that comes from my daughter's love for me no matter what. I pause as I get ready for bed because I know that even in the worst times, there is always hope for a new start. By the window, I can see the lights of Portland. This city used to feel strange and scary, but now it feels like home. It feels like a promise of new opportunities. We may be starting over, but we're doing it our way, with our heads held high, with their heads held high. Tomorrow is a new day, and we'll take another step on our journey. While facing it, Emma and I will be stronger and tougher than ever.